So currently we are looking into a question called use local storage, and the use local storage is a good question which has been asked in a lot of interviews on front end interviews. This question judges that how much you can how much good you are with the simple logics, and have you ever created custom hook or not, right? So this is a very basic question that can be asked to you in any sort of interviews, whether it is a service based interview or a client or a product based company. So it is a good to go question, right? So what this use local storage hook does, basically use local storage hook does help us to set the values in our local storage. So on mount we read from the local storage using a given key, and if the value exists, okay, all good. If value does not exist, we initialize the value using the value that we have been passing, right? Let's say whenever user updates that particular value, we need to update our local storage with the latest value, so we have a setter to set that. So we have to use simple get and set functions from local storage. So for to implement this, we will be creating a custom hook called use local storage. We will be giving it two things as an argument, key and the initial value which we need to set it, right? Now see what is happening over here. So we are creating a state variable. As we know, all sort of hooks can have access to all the lifecycle elements of a React. So we have access to all the other React inbuilt hooks like useState, useEffect and all, right? So over here we will be creating a state called value, and use a set value function for it. So in state functions we can initialize it like this. Like you would have seen lot of simple initialization, simple empty state or a small value inside a state, but also we can preset the state with these set of values or giving some sort of functionality inside it. So what we are checking over here is if local storage already has that particular key and it is not null, then we will call the existing one and get the item and return it to our state variable. Else we will use the initial value and return it to the state variable, right? Now our state variable has this initial value initialized to it is the initial case, right? Now we will be having a use effect which will act as a setter. So this will act as a setter for us. So what will happen, so what will happen, inside our use effect we will be having two dependencies, one is key and one is value. Whenever either of the two changes, we will call this use effect, right? Now whenever this changes, we will call this use effect. So as our value is changing over here, we are updating it to our initial value. So the initial value will be added to our local storage, that is the value that would be passed. So what we are doing, simple local storage dot set item, giving the key, that what would the key name be, and giving the value. Why we are using JSON.stringify and JSON.parse over here? So because all the keys which are stored in local storage are stored as a string, and we need to pass it as an object, right? And when we set the values to the local storage, we need to set it as a string. So from object or whatever format we have, we need to set it as a string, right? So this is what it is. And now let's say how we will be calling it. So we will be calling this use local storage by giving it a key and a value. Initially we are not giving any value over here, that's fine. Also, what at the end, this hook would be returning us two things. One is what value we are using, and this setter function, right? These are the only two things that we need. So in our app component, we will be using this const value, const set value. You can use whatever name you want for this variable. I'm just directly using the ones that is pre-existing, but you can call it name and set name. That won't cause any error. And then over here, whenever our input changes, we will update the set value. So this is the crux. Now we can see how it works. So let's say we give a name Amit, right? So it will show Amit over here, and we are taking this value from our setter, getter, and over here we are setting the value using the setter, right? And over here you can see this local storage has the updated value of Amit. Let's say we remove this, so this will be removed and added as an empty string, right? So that's all for